Hey guys, it's John and Jackie of OpenLove101.com and the World Love Summit. And today we're here with Ying Ying of SOP Lifestyle Productions. Hi, Ying Ying.
Hi, everybody.
How are you today?
Doing excellent. Just came back from Burning Man and getting ready for another trip tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to meet with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. It's an honor to be invited.
So tell us, what is SOP Productions, Lifestyle Productions?
So SOP stands for Swinger Open Poly, and we are an event and travel planning company that specializes in travel and events for lifestyle, whether you're a swinger, whether you're kinky, whether you're a triad, poly, anything like that. We're inclusive of everybody, regardless of what your status or your single status, or if you're a couple or part of a trio. And what we want is to create an event and create a travel trip for everybody who can have a safe space to explore the sexuality, their relationships, and friendship.
And the destinations you go to, are they hotel takeovers or are they tours? How's that work?
So we have two signature events, which are hotels takeovers, and the complete hotel takeover in Whistler, BC in Canada. And one's in November over the long weekend, and one's in May. So we call it the Summer Lifestyle Takeover and the Whistler Lifestyle Takeover. The two travel trips that we have coming up is the Tropical Lifestyle Takeover in Panama in 2019 and a surprise location in 2020. We also have our first ever Europe Lifestyle Takeover, and the first one is coming up in September 2019 in France, and the second one will be 2020 in Greece.
Oh, wow.
So trying to kind of explore Europe a country at a time.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you talk about this inclusive kind of platform that you're working under, where you're bringing together all these different kind of lifestyles. Have you noticed in bringing them together that it's helping to open some lines of communication, or is there questions from one group to another group? How does that work?
Definitely. So it's really interesting how I think people have misconception about what the other lifestyles like. So you have the swingers who think that poly people, all they want are relationships. And then you have poly people who think that all swinger wants are sex. So it's really interesting to sort of bring them together and go, oh, you're a poly? Oh, you're a swinger? I wouldn't have known by who you are, how you look, what you do. So I think it's a really great way for people to sort of expand the horizons a bit and expand the boundaries a bit and get to know each other as people first and foremost, and then relationship second. Having a safe space where you can explore and ask questions without feeling you're going to be judged is a really great thing for, I think, everybody involved.
So do you have people coming away saying, oh, wow, I didn't have any idea that this was how this particular group looked at relationships or looked at how we are? I mean, does it foster a lot of communication between the groups?
It also fosters not only communication, but also your ideas of what a relationship can be. So for a lot of people who are new in the lifestyle, they may think, oh, monogamy is the only thing in the world. We can't do anything else. And they baby step and go, let's maybe try playing with somebody else. And then you move on from there. How about going on a date with somebody else? And so on and so on. And you sort of question yourself too, because, well, I should only love one person. Why do I feel attraction for somebody else? And having a space where you can talk to other people who've gone through that journey before you makes you feel like you're not alone. And that really helps in giving you the courage to pursue what you want to pursue and what you want to explore. So for a lot of people, not only is it a communication thing, it's the idea that, hey, what you want isn't wrong, even though society tells you it's not what you should want. And also having the ability to ask questions and then try it for yourself, because until you try it, you won't know whether it's for you or not.
Yeah, that's very true.
So do you get a lot of, being a woman, do you get a lot of women coming to you for advice, or, how did you break into this lifestyle and break away from some of societal's teachings to be able to do this? And
I do. I think it's funny because if you see me on the street, I look just like any other vanilla person out there. They may find out that A, I'm not monogamous, B, I go to Burning Man, and C, I plan trips and events for lifestyle people. And it's like, you are so against every single norms that I know. How did you become this way? And so it's really great to be able to say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. And here's what I found in my journey of learning about the different relationships and what I've done and what I've experienced. You can try it too. It may not be for you, but at least now you know that once you try it and it's not for you, you can move on to something else. So yeah, I really enjoy being the person that go, you're not who I thought you are. What happened? How did you? And it's like, nothing happened. It's just who I am. And I'm just kind of exploring who I am and kind of believing in who I am can be who I am, as opposed to what the society tells me I should be.
So how do you think that changes how you view yourself?
It gives me a lot more confidence for sure. Being a lifestyle community is very free in a way, because it allows you to sort of put yourself out there, try new, different, weird things, and not feel like you're going to be judged if you succeed or fail. And I think that's the reason why I go back to Burning Man every year, is that it's an environment where you are encouraged to try weird things, try new costume, try new art, create art. And for me, Burning Man and the alternative lifestyle is sort of interwoven in a way for me in my life, because I take the principles of Burning Man into my own life and into my events. And I try to sort of welcome everybody, all inclusive, try to leave no trace, making sure that space that we go to are always clean afterwards, and also invite people to participate in the events, in the activities, in the playroom or the hot tub or anything like that. So it's really great and fun for me to sort of explore year by year. Every time I go back to Burning Man, every time I have a new idea of what kind of event I should do, the theme nights we should do, what country we should go explore. So yeah, I think it's really great for me to be able to do what I do, and I love it.
So you talk a lot about Burning Man, and that's one thing that I have not yet had a chance to experience, but it seems like the people that have attended that event, they do come away with just this completely different outlook. So, you know, you touched a little bit on what your takeaway is on Burning Man, but delve into that a little deeper, you know.
How much time do we have? So I'm a sort of a newbie to Burning Man in the grand scheme of things. I've been going to Burning Man every single year since 2010. So this is my 9th year in a row.
Wow.
But I've only found out about Burning Man in 2007. So that means I did not know anything about Burning Man when it first started back in the 1980s, had no idea about the event in the 1990s, and I finally went in 2010. So by the time I went, the event's been going on for about 20 years. So the changes at Burning Man is quite drastic, especially in the last 5 years, as it becomes more and more mainstream. I only found out Burning Man by reading a book called Around the World in 80 Days. And whereas everybody else who's gone to Burning Man were part of the community in San Francisco way back when. Now everybody knows about Burning Man because Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, it's out there now and people are wondering about it. The great thing about Burning Man, I find, is that it does give you the permission to go and create, whether it's art, whether it's art card, a theme camp. You get the opportunity to dream big and bring it to life. However, it's not for everyone. It is in the Black Rock Desert, which is the most inhospitable place on Earth. It's like camping on Mars, is what we call it, because it's an alkaline desert. It's dusty, it's hot, it's dry. There's nothing there. There's no trees. It's flat. There's nothing around at all. You have to bring everything with you. Bring your own shade, bring your own food, bring your own water. Enough things to survive a week in the desert. And yet we go back every year because of how hard it is. It gives you that challenge that you feel an accomplishment, that you've survived Burning Man and you thrive at Burning Man. So ever since we started going in 2010, we actually created a theme camp. So we are now an official theme camp at Burning Man, which means we get to go in early to create our camp and set up. So instead of being on the desert floor for a week, we're actually there for 2 whole weeks. Oh. So it's sort of allows me to kind of go, okay, I have 1 week to create this theme camp. Then I have a 1 week to make sure it goes well and enjoy Burning Man. And I have 3 days to tear down. So it becomes this giant operation. And yet for me, it's really fulfilling because it allows new people to come join our camp and learn about Burning Man and have a safe space to explore Burning Man from. And hopefully by having a safe space to explore Burning Man from, they bring back the Burning Man ethos and principles back to their own lives and sort of expand from there and pass it forward.
Wow.
I had no idea. I had no idea you were so involved in it at this point to where you're going so far in advance. And is there anything going on there that relates to either the swinger lifestyle or the poly lifestyle?
So I tell everyone it's not a festival, first and foremost. There's no main stage, there's no headliners, there's no vendors. It's not even sort of a swinger event in that sense because it's everybody. There's everybody there. One thing I tell people is that think of Burning Man as a kaleidoscope of life. Anything you can think about life, you're finding at Burning Man. They run an ultra marathon at Burning Man every year. 50 miles in the desert. They start at 3 in the morning. It's insane. And the runners will wear costumes or they will run naked and people will give out refreshments and drinks on the route. It's insane. And you kind of go, who would want to run 50 miles in the desert? But there you go, ultra marathon at Burning Man. There's camps that offer yoga and meditation. There's camps that offer facials and massages. There's camp that offer you a cereal bar. You can choose cereal from around the world. There's camp that does BDSM. There's camp that does bondage. There's a poly paradise camp. There's an orgy dome that people set up this beautiful dome, seal it up, air condition it, and you can go in and use it. So there's music, there's art, there's everything from hip hop to R&B to bluegrass, to live orchestra to EDM, like literally everything you can think about and imagine of life, you'll find at Burning Man. And the great thing about that is if you want something to do something, you can go and find it or create it yourself. So it's not strictly a lifestyle event. It's not strictly a music festival. It's not strictly an art festival. It's a community of a temporary city where everything can happen and anything can happen.
It's just really a diversity of life.
Exactly. It's definitely diversity of life. And if you can't find what you like at Burning Man, it means that you should bring it.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have you have this conglomeration of society that comes together in the desert for this week-long event. And you're essentially telling people, we give you permission to experiment with your life, to color outside the lines, do some things different.
Yeah.
So then you have this group of people that maybe have decided to do that. So they're stepping outside their comfort zone. They're trying some things. They're giving themselves permission, but they're also, this is going to be new territory for them.
Exactly.
So is there a way that they can do this where they understand like consent? Are there kind of camps for that? I mean, how do we teach people to open themselves up, do it in a safe way?
So it's really fascinating for me as an event planner and as a burner and as a person and a woman to kind of read about the Me Too movement as it pertains to the default world, which is what we call the world outside of Burning Man, the vanilla world outside of the swinging world, and in the swing community, is that it is something that affects everybody, regardless of who you are, where you're from, and what you do. At Burning Man, there are 10 main principles, and there's a lot of people trying to make consent the 11th principle. I think that the consent should be the 0th principle, the very beginning of everything. It should be the base from all the principles rise from. You should have consent in everything you do, regardless if it's sexual or not. Do you want a hug? You should always ask about that. It's not a sexual hug, but it's still a personal boundary issue. Do you want to drink? Do you want to hear this music? Do you want to do a dance? Everything we do in life should start from consent and then go on from there. So at Burning Man, there's a very big movement trying to make consent a very important thing. In all the literature that you see online, in survival guide that you get when you buy a ticket and online, you talk about that a lot. And a lot of times is you think it's something that everyone should already know, but we still need to talk about it, because even if you think it's something that everyone should do, not everyone does it. And so therefore we need to talk about it and bring awareness to it, especially when it comes to sexuality, because there's such a gray, blurry border around consent for a lot of people that they don't want to talk about it. It's a hard topic to talk about. You know, it kills the mood, which it does not. And it's something that you should just make it part of who you are and make it part of how you approach playing with other people and being with other people in general. So I am really excited to see that consent is now being brought to the forefront in both the alternative lifestyle world, kink, swinging, poly, and in the burner world, and in our world in general.
How do you see differences in consent from, say, you know, like the swinger lifestyle or open lifestyle from, you know, maybe your more traditional, just kind of societal, going out to a bar kind of thing? You know, the concept, how would you say those are different?
The main difference I see is that the non-monogamous alternative lifestyle world tends to be more aware of consent, especially in, say, the BDSM and kink world, is that consent is paramount. Unfortunately, a lot of new people coming into those lifestyle may not understand that. And so education, again, becomes so important to both the newbies and to the people who are trying to learn about what consent can be and how different people have different boundaries of consent. Because yes, we want to ask for consent, but asking for consent for a hug means different things for different people. So how do you negotiate that? How do you talk about that? How do you ask for it in a fun, flirty way that won't kill the mood, according to some people? So I think that we in the non-monogamous world does have a step up on the regular default world for consent, but we're still not 100% there yet. And there's still a lot of work that we can do, especially when it comes to swinging, because I've heard some stories from a lot of people, both men and women, about consent violations. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that people don't talk about is men actually get more consent violations in the swinging world than women sometimes, because they are assumed to want sex from everybody. So when a woman goes and touches a man's butt, it's a consent violation right there. But people don't see as that because, oh, he likes it. No, yes, he may like it, but it's still a consent violation, and we need to talk about that and educate everybody on how to bring consent, talk to everybody, both male and females.
How would you explain to someone that they need to ask before they pat me on the butt?
So I have it's a funny story now, not so funny at the moment. At my event in Worcester 2 or 3 years ago now, we had a couple come for the first time, and they were excited. She's definitely a little bit drunk, so I kept an eye on her a little bit, and I took her away from the very busy dance floor to sort of see how she was going to react to everybody. I brought her up to the 4th floor where our play space is, and I kind of show her around to give her the introduction on tour. As we came out the elevator, there was 2 guys and a girl standing in the hallway just chatting. As we walked past, she went whap and slapped this guy's butt. And I turned around and go, excuse me, you can't do that. You have to ask permission first. And she goes, oh, he likes it. I'm like, no, I don't care if he likes it, but you still have to ask permission first. So that was my clue that she wasn't really quite on board with what's going on. And she was definitely more drunk than she should be at a party. Mm-hmm. So from that point on, we sort of kept an eye on her, and we actually had to ask her to leave because she just was not following the house rules and the norms of consent. So yeah, it takes a lot of courage for people who are not the host or a organizer in an event to actually call out somebody, because you don't know the background of that scenario. They could have had prior consent that you don't know about. So one thing we can do for each other is to watch out for each other. Watch the body language, see if there's any sort of weird looks, any flinch, any sort of trying to back away from the contact. We do a lot of nonverbal communication, and it's really hard in a party environment to sort of stop and kind of go, okay, is everything going on kosher? So as the event planner and the host, it's my job to make sure that our guests and attendees understand that at any point in time, if there's any discomfort or something that doesn't feel right, please come find one of us, and we will help you deal with that.
You know, it's interesting talking about this, because it starts to remind me of my own stories that I've had with interactions of consent. And what I find interesting is most of the times that I've had an issue with that, it's actually been from other women and not from men. And I don't know if that falls in line with the, oh, you're a woman, you're in the swinging lifestyle, so that must mean that you are bi. So
Because all women are bi in the swinger lifestyle.
Exactly.
you know? So I think that's another point too, is
well, that's funny you brought that point up. It totally ties in with that, and with the idea that there's this misconception in the lifestyle. First of all women are bi. I'm not bi. I don't know if you are, but there's a lot of women who are not bi who felt, when I first got in the lifestyle, I felt really awkward because I didn't want to show too much affection, because I didn't want people to think that I'm coming on to them, I'm flirting, or that I'm bi, and I'm not. Now I'm thinking, okay, well, we need to kind of bring it out there. Not all women are bi, and not all men are straight.
exactly.
We do this. I actually do a talk at Naughty at my event, talk about biases in the lifestyle. We talk about what kind of biases people bring into the swinging world. One of them is that bi men are shunned. Nobody wants to talk to bi men. Nobody wants bi men. Bi men feel like they have to hide who they are in order to be in the lifestyle, and that's just not cool. And another thing is biases against singles. If you're a single male, you are definitely enemy number one, regardless of who you are. And I find that really bad, because you could be in a relationship with somebody and you break up. You're still the same person. Just because you're single doesn't mean you are going to become a bad person again. So with the seminars and the workshops that I put on, I try to sort of remind everybody, treat everybody as who they are by the action, not by the status. And so if you're a woman, make sure you ask consent from both men and women when you interact. And I know sometimes it's really hard because you're in a party atmosphere and you're really excited and you're happy to see each other. Great, but sometimes we've got to stop, slow down, and go, okay, let's put consent on the forefront, and then everybody will have more fun that way.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think when you're talking about single men, for instance, in our clubs, a lot of times there'll be a couple will come in, they're a married couple, but the man will venture off by himself, maybe just to check out the play space and see if there's anyone there they might want to connect with. He is labeled a single man at that point, and we'll get complaints like, there's single men in the club, there's a single man in the club. And he's not, he's with someone else, but just because he was seen alone, it changes the whole, the way he is looked upon. It's pretty amazing how poorly single men can be looked upon. But they are looked at on our Friday nights, we allow single men in there, and a lot of couples love single women in playing with single men. So you see that aspect of it as well. But I think you hear more from the couples that are negative towards it for some reason. So
I get where they're coming from at some point, because I understand there are a lot of single men out there who think that the lifestyle is all about free sex. I get that. I get that there's bad single men out there, but not all single men are bad, and not all married men are good, because you could have a man of a couple who is as predatory as any other single man searching for free sex. And yet, because he brought a woman with him, or he's part of a couple, he's considered a good guy. And so I want everyone to go, hey, let's just judge everybody based on what the behavior is. And then we can kind of assess from there and judge him from that point. So the bias against single men and the bias for single women is such a drastic view that it's really hard to break people from, especially when it comes to lifestyle clubs. A lot of clubs don't allow single men. A lot of clubs welcome single women by giving them free entry. And it sort of brings the idea that, you're free to come in and do whatever you want because we want you there. So sometimes single women think that they can get away with everything because we want you there. Everybody wants you there. Everybody loves you. So you have to also flip side, the good and the bad of both being single men and women. So it's something that I like to see more and more people address, and more people talk about it, and just sort of be aware. Even if you can't do anything about it, be more aware and be willing to talk to other people about it, and maybe call out some bad behavior on both sides, whether it's male or females, and then help make everybody safer in our community.
When you talk about bisexuality in the lifestyle, and like, for instance, you say that you're not, and Jackie doesn't label herself as bi, but I've noticed there are some women out there that maybe label themselves that way, but they're still open to exploring with another woman. And the same thing for men. They may not label themselves as bisexual, but they're maybe they're not so opposed to having some kind of contact during sexual play with another man. Have you seen that change in the past few years since you've been going to Burning Man or in the lifestyle?
A little bit. I wouldn't say that we see people change. It's more of people perception of labels that's changed. The labeling of people is something that we humans do quite regularly based on what your preconceived notion of what that label means. One of the things I talk about with one session I do called Swinger Open Poly is come and talk about what labels are. There's a really awesome relationship chart called the Epic Relationship Chart. And it basically is a Venn diagram of overlapping circles and squares and rectangles of different labels that you can call your relationship. So you look at this chart and go, oh my God, there's so many words that we can choose to label our relationship. How do you choose? And the answer is you don't choose. You have to explore and figure out who you are and then see if any of those labels fit what you think you should be. Because unfortunately, we still need labels to describe ourselves to other people and to possibly find other people that to connect with. So the idea of bisexuality is a very fascinating notion because not everyone is black and white. Not everyone is 100% straight, not everyone is 100% gay. We all fall under the spectrum of sexuality. And I am straight, but I am not opposed to kissing another woman. I'm not opposed to being naked with another woman, but I don't want to play with them. I have no desire to play with them. The joke that I have is the only woman that I've ever felt sexual attraction to is Angelina Jolie. That's the only person that I go, oh my gosh, if she was, yes, I would play with her. But everybody else, I'm kind of like, I don't have that attraction to you. So I'm definitely straight, but I am not opposed to playing with women if I have that attraction to, right? So the idea of sexuality as a label is something that we do need in our society, but we should definitely not use it as a be all and end all of all things. And if everyone can kind of understand the idea that yes, we can choose to have a label attached to us, whether it's relationship, sexuality, ethnicity, color of skin, but it's not just who I am, then I think it will be helpful for everybody involved.
That's a really great point.
Thanks.
You know, Burning Man has grown tremendously over the years.
Oh, yes.
And I sense that the swinger lifestyle and a non-monogamous, consensual non-monogamous lifestyle has as well. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing any change in the normalcy and
Yeah, definitely. You see a lot more in the mainstream media reporting on polyamory or swinging or anything like that. Yes, some of them are reporting on the sensational side of things, but a lot of them are still writing really well-balanced articles and reports on what the alternative status could be other than just monogamous. And I think that the more people are exposed to the idea, the less fear they have around it, the better it will be for us to be able to say, hey, you don't have to be monogamous to be successful, to be happy, to be whatever you think you should be. At the same time, monogamy is not the enemy. There are some people who want monogamy and is completely happy in a monogamous relationship. So I don't want to pit it as us versus them. It's us, and there's many options to choose from. And so I like the idea of options. I like the idea that we, the thing I compare it to is friendship. We have many friends. We have many friends that we do different things with. Doesn't mean that I don't like the other friends I go to movies with if I go hiking with somebody else. That why should it mean that I have to choose one soulmate for the rest of my life? That's asking that one person to be my everything, to want everything that I want, to like everything that I like. And that is kind of ridiculous because you don't expect your best friend to like everything you like, to want everything you want. So why should you want your partner to be the same way? I feel the best relationship starts from the basis of friendship. So if you can find someone that you can hang out with no sexuality involved, and then it evolves with sexuality involved as well, why not? And in a poly world, it plays on the idea that you can have multiple partners, whether it's romantic partners, whether it's friends, best friend, whether it's housing partners, parenting partners. You don't have to have kids with your partner if they don't want kids. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't be together anymore. No, it just means that you shouldn't have kids with that partner. If you have another partner who wants kids and will be a great parent with you, why not have kids with that partner? And that way you both get what you want, and then you and your other partner can still have a relationship based on what other interests you have together. So the idea of monogamy being the be-all, end-all is an archaic idea that I think should be put to rest. It doesn't mean that everyone should be poly. It doesn't mean that everyone should be a swinger. It means that everyone should have the choice to choose.
So really what you're saying, it's not so much about this is the right way to have a relationship or this is the right way to have a relationship, is that it's about that being inclusive, that these are just other options. There are other viable relationship options that we can all explore and see what works for us. And if it keeps us together, then that's what we should be applauding, and not whether they're following some antiquated definition of relationships.
Exactly. You put it such a great summary for me. That's perfect.
Ying, how did you arrive at that conclusion that you weren't going to be in a monogamous relationship all of your life?
Yeah, it's I don't actually know how I arrived at that. I've always felt that monogamy was weird. To give you a background context, I'm from Singapore. So I was born in Singapore. I moved to Canada with my parents at 11 years old. And as you may or may not know, Singapore is quite a traditional Asian country. And growing up, it's always, go to school, get good grades, graduate from university, get a good job, meet a guy, get married, have kids, get a house. It's the progression in relationship that I'm sure everyone finds themselves in when they're young. And we call that the relationship escalator. You get on the escalator, you slowly move up to the next step, to the next milestone. And I've never really felt like that's what I want to do. I want to get good grades, but it doesn't mean that I never wanted to get married. And since moving to Canada at age 11, it sort of reinforces that feeling that I had. But when you're young, you don't really have anything to go with except for what your parents tell you or what you see in society, in movies and TV shows. So you sort of kind of go, well, I'm kind of weird because I don't want to have kids. I don't want to get married. My top 3 goals in high school was to get an awesome job, get a great car, and get a penthouse apartment. Like that was my goals in life. And I just kind of I don't want to get married and have kids. So I'm the weird ball in my family in a way. My parents have been awesome. They never really pressure me about kids or anything like that. But I do know that when I go to Singapore as a young adult, the first thing people ask is like, oh, do you have a boyfriend yet? Or, when are you getting married? And it's looking back, I know they asked that out of love. I know they asked out of care, but it's kind of like, why is everybody asking me if I want to get married? I don't want to get married. How do I explain to people that I don't want to get married? So it was really fortunate that I came across a book called The Ethical Slut at age 23, because that book really opened up my vocabulary to give me the words that I can articulate my feelings. So it was like reading the book was like a light bulb going off my head and go, oh my gosh, here we go. I actually have words now to describe how I feel and what I want to people so that I don't have to feel like, I don't know. So that book was sort of the stepping stone for me in terms of the non-monogamous relationship world, because it gave me it allowed me to see that there's other options out there other than just monogamy. So that's why I'm open to kind of talking to people. I'm open to answering questions from newbies. I'm open to doing sessions at workshops, at different conventions, on cruises or anything, just because I feel like that book helped me so much that I want to give back as well, is that anybody who has questions should be willing and be able to ask, and I'm happy to answer it. And I think it comes from a idea that, hey, I finally had somebody that I can talk to and that I'm not alone. The feeling of being alone is the most uncomfortable thing, whether it's coming out the closet, whether it's coming out to your family or anything like that. It's the idea that you are the only one in the world who feels the way you do, and that's super scary. So to be able to know that, hey, there are other things out there, that there are other people out there that feel the way you do, really helps you be more confident in going forward. So that's kind of where I started from, I guess. I've always been that way, but the ethical slut was the first thing that I came across that really allowed me to go, okay, this is the world I live in. This is the world that I want to be in. Let's go for that. And then ever since then, I just sort of been exploring different relationship, different types of relationship, whether it's polyamory, whether it's swinging, trying to figure out who I am and what I want. So right now, the label that I would use to describe myself is solo poly. And people are like, solo poly? That seems kind of weird. So solo poly refers to the idea that you want multiple relationships, but you're most happy in your own world, in the sense that I don't want to share bills. I don't want to share banking account. I don't want to share housing expenses with somebody else. I want my own world, and I want people to join me, and we can go and do things together and be in a relationship with, but not to share life in the way, the typical nesting partner is what they call it. I don't want to have to sleep in the same bed with someone all the time, every single night. I want my own bed. I love my own bed. I can't sleep well in someone else's bed. So yeah, so it took me a long time to get to the point where I go, I don't have to be monogamous. I don't have to be a swinger. I don't have to be poly, and I don't have to sleep in someone else's bed. So it's like I can do all this and still be a productive member of society. And I think that is a really good thing to find out.
I think it's great.
Man, I mean, I want to do this, just applaud that breaking away from the stress and strain a lot of times that society puts on us to conform, and to have somebody say, no, I'm not going to do, not only am I not going to do this, but I'm not going to do this or this or this, but I am going to do this, this, and this. And I think what you find, and you're a perfect example of that fear that we have about stepping out or being alone or not being accepted. But as soon as we cross that line in the sand, you see all these people behind you go, oh, finally somebody did it, and then they gravitate. And so it's interesting to see how you've paid that forward through your independence. You find that there's all these other people that start seeking you out and saying, how do I do this? How can I be who I am and be okay with that? Just like with the poly.
Yes.
And meaning, if there are people that want to follow you and learn more about you and what you're talking about today, how do they find you online?
The website for our events is soplifestyleproductions.com, or you can go to swingeropenpoly.com and it'll redirect you to the same site.
Okay.
All takeovers are listed on there, and if you want to email me directly, there's a contact form on that page, on that website as well, to email me directly. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, Swinger Open Poly, and it's, Jackie, you brought a really good point about paying it forward. Is I learned about ethical slut. I read the book, and then I found about Burning Man. I've been going to Burning Man for 9 years in a row now, and Burning Man's giving me so much in allowing me to explore who I am that I want to give back to them. So it's, in our way, a little way of giving back is we do a theme camp where we want people to join as newbies, because a lot of times if you talk to some of the older burners who are jaded and they go, oh, newbies are the worst, newbie ruined Burning Man. There's pros and cons to newbies, obviously. We're all new ones. And so we have a camp called Frenzied Serenity, and it's spelled FRIENDZIED. So frenzied with the word friend inside it, Serenity. And we're on Facebook, and we basically welcome new people to come explore Burning Man with us and be able to see what Burning Man's all about. So as I go on with the Burning Man with our events and everything, one of the main thing that pops up continuously is community. Community is something that we are all part of, regardless of what community you choose. And nobody is ever on their own, and nobody is ever alone. And if we are able to reach out to everybody who is part of a community who feels alone, it really helps build our community in that way. And in the Burning Man community, we have this ongoing joke is, community is a bad word because it's overused. We have a drink every time, like it's a shot, it's a drinking game. You hit over community, you take a shot. But I think when it comes down to the nitty-gritty core of it is that community is what we should be striving for. We should be striving to create a community where we support each other instead of tearing each other down, especially in the lifestyle world where you have all these different companies putting on events and cruises and everything. Yes, that's great. We want option. We want people to have option to choose from, to go to parties and everything. Don't tear each other down. There's no point to tearing each other down. We should be supporting each other and helping each other to create even better events, even better clubs for everyone to choose from. So community is something that I really try to strive for, whether it's in Canada, in US, or around the world, or in life, so anything like that. So I want to kind of end it with, let's build a community up. Let's try to help each other, and let's try to support each other and create better community and better world for everybody.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we both do. That's a great point.
Yeah.
In the lifestyle club business for many years, you know, I would approach other owners in the cities that I would open a club in and talk them up, you know, we're opening here, we want to work together and try and build the community, the same type of principle. And I learned that from watching some Christmas show where somebody went in to buy something from a store and they said, we don't have that here, but you go to the other store down the street, like Macy's or something like that, and they have it.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned that, because I think not every club is for everybody. Not every travel agency caters to the same type of people.
Exactly.
So the options are very important. And if we work together, we can direct people to the right place.
Definitely.
I think that is very, very important. So.
Well, and I think too, you know, just like you said, if we can have a loving environment within our own community,
yes,
it's going to be much more inviting for those who are newbies.
Yes, exactly.
In lots of different senses of the word. So, you know, so I think that's part of our responsibility of those that are in whatever part of whatever lifestyle that we're involved in, is to have that loving, accepting, inclusive of everybody else, and taking the time, like you said, to learn about it. You know, don't just assume, take the time to learn, because I think, like you said, also, you know, societal norms are changing. So we've got to be ready for this influx of people. And if we can't be loving amongst ourselves, we have a problem.
Yeah, definitely. That was a really last point you made was very good, because it is true. With all the infighting that you see backdoor in the behind the scene politics of some of the lifestyle clubs and companies, it makes you wonder how they're going to survive when the world becomes more open-minded and becomes more willing to go on lifestyle vacation, to go to lifestyle clubs. How are you going to help them navigate the really treacherous waters that we are in, because trying to make sure that no one judge each other, no one's judgmental, and trying to make sure that we're all safe and everything like that. So I really hope and wish that we can all come together. It sounds really corny, but it's true. We have to do our own part to make the world a better place. And backstabbing and, you know, bad mouthing, it's just not part of it. There's no need for it. If you really think that the club is a really bad club, they're going to go out of business really easily. You don't need to badmouth them, because people who go will realize how bad a club it is if it really is a bad club. So there's no need for any name calling to be involved. So yeah, I hope that we can all work together, both promoters, event planners, club owners, attendees, even everybody we all have a stake in our community. We all have a stake in making sure that our lifestyle continues to grow and becoming more accepted and becoming part of mainstream society and becoming the norm, like one of the norms, hopefully one day.
Yes,
I agree.
we definitely hope so.
Yeah.
Ying, thank you again so much for being with us today and talking to our viewers. I am sure they got a lot out of this conversation. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's funny because I feel like I'm jumping from tangent to tangent. So hopefully anybody with any questions, feel free to message me on Facebook, Twitter, email. I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Oh,
Great,
wonderful.
super. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right. See ya.
Bye.